Welcome back to the Means Report. Congressman Jody Hice of the 10th District of Georgia is our special guest today, talking about all the goings-on, not only in our nation's capital, but right here at home. Congressman Hice, I do want to move on to the pandemic and talk about what's happening there. While we were asleep recently, the Senate met to push through, along party lines, a plan that is going to make it a lot easier for them to push through the Democratic version of the next relief package. What do you think about that partisanship, and what do you think about what do you think the next package will hold?
Yeah, we're looking at nearly $2 trillion of additional spending. We've already had about 4 major relief packages. I think we're now totaling in the ballpark, hovering around $6 trillion that has gone out as a result of the pandemic. And listen, we all need to be safe. But we can walk and chew gum at the same time, and I'm very grateful for the leadership in Georgia, which has recognized that, and Georgia still remains a state that's doing extremely well economically, as well as dealing with the pandemic as a whole. In terms of getting the vaccine out and all those types of things, we're moving in a good, solid direction. Look, here's the problem that I have. It doesn't matter if you send out checks of $600 or $1,000 or $1,400 or $2,000, goodness, $5,000. You name the number. None of those checks can replace livelihoods. The way you deal with this economy, the way you deal with livelihoods, is to open the economy. We simply do not have the money to continue sending out checks to everyone in this country month after month. We are creating a scenario that is bankrupting our country. And we've got to understand that we just can't, this is unsustainable. And it ultimately is doing nothing other than putting a temporary Band-Aid on individuals' lives. What we need to focus on is how to safely open the economy. That is the issue. And that is something that I've been pushing for months and will continue to push for.
Do you get the impression when the cameras are turned off and it's just you and your fellow lawmakers, do you get the impression that Democrats care what you say or think at all? Republicans, by you, I mean Republicans. Or do they just say, look, we have the majority in both chambers. We're pushing this through just like they did with this latest plan for COVID relief. Do you feel like you have a voice at all?
No, really, unfortunately, we don't. When they have the House, the Senate, and the White House in particular, listen, we're being treated like this in hearings as well as on the floor. We're not even seeing what this type of legislation is until they put it on the floor to vote on it. And this particular one's over 5,000 pages. We didn't have time to read it, didn't have time to make amendments. This didn't come through committees. It's just kind of dropped on the floor without any time to deal with it. And this is not what a representative government is all about. We are here, I and my other colleagues are here to represent our districts and to look at legislation and to debate it and to offer amendments and to try to do what we think may improve it or whatever the case may be. And those types of privileges are absolutely being denied us. Wow. For the most part right now, and it's really a frightening thing, quite frankly, to witness what we're experiencing.
No, we appreciate that insight. Let me ask you this. I was going to say real quickly, but I know it'll be tough to tackle this succinctly, but let's try. Where were you January 6th? Were you scared?
I was in my office in the Cannon building, and no, to be very honest with you, the Capitol Police, I thought, did an outstanding job. There was not 1 minute that I felt threatened or fearful for my life. And I'm very grateful for the incredible job they did. That being said,
take us, how close is that office in the Cannon building to where all the unrest took place?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, because I make that statement saying I never felt threatened. But that being said, I never realized, I was not aware of what really was taking place either. That was a day that we were making the electoral votes. We were having the elections and the approval or disapproval of the electoral votes. I, of course, was the spokesperson for Georgia, so I was focused personally on getting my thoughts together and making sure I said and did everything according to proper protocol and all this type of thing. And it is not uncommon at all for us to evacuate during weeks this area of Capitol Hill or that area. It's common for there to be alerts coming from the Capitol Police about activity here or there or wherever. So we started getting some of those alerts, and totally it just rolled off my mind like they all do. But
Could you hear everything?
We could hear people outside chanting and that type of thing. But again, that's not really unusual. There are protests up here on a regular basis. I mean, you always hear people outside chanting and this, that, and the other. But what made the difference is when the Capitol Police started coming up and down the halls, banging on the doors, making sure everyone in the hallways were under their attention, and they were directing us out. And, then obviously we became increasingly aware that there was a potential serious situation going on. And, then, of course, we started watching TV and getting more information as to what was happening. But prior to that, to be very honest with you, Brad, it was totally off the radar.
Congressman, who were these people? Do you think it was just some crazy people who were going to do this no matter what? Or do you think they were paid to go there and do all this just to make President Trump look even worse?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, this is a type of thing we need to have some serious investigation on. But look, even prior to it, we had watched months across our country where rioting was taking place in various cities and businesses destroyed and burned and people assaulted, even police killed. And so we had months and months and months of rioting taking place in various places in the country, and that was increasingly becoming more aggressive. And I think as more information comes out as to the events of September 6th, the more clear the reality that this was a coordinated effort. It was not a spontaneous response by people who were there in the crowd listening to the president speak, but there was involved in that movement a coordinated effort to create chaos. And again, I think more will come available as investigations continue, but it seems as though that is the reality, the more information that comes out day after day.
I know it's still early, but Congressman Hice, have you had a chance to talk to or be in the same room with Vice President Harris or President Biden? Any sort of exchanges with them yet?
No, I haven't, not yet. And, we'll see. Still, to be honest with you, Capitol Hill here is still very much under guard. The presence of National Guard is very strong. There are gates and fences and razor wire all around the various buildings, even my office building here in Cannon, and all throughout the place. Security is still extremely high, in my opinion, quite frankly, too much so. Certainly does not exhibit freedom and what Washington, D.C. should represent to the world. But nonetheless, that is what we're living under, extremely high security.
We probably just have time for this last question and answer, and it's this. What do you think life will look like on a day-to-day basis under President Biden versus the way it looked under President Trump? And do you see any hope in the future of things truly settling down in our nation?
I hope we do settle down and get back to the country that we all have known and loved and cherished and want to continue to pass on to our children and our grandchildren. That's the goal, isn't it, for all of us? And so that is what we're pushing for. That's what we're praying for. That's what we're going to continue working for. That being said, I will also say very honestly that the Democratic Party up here right now is extremely aggressive, pushing their agenda, a very radical agenda on both us as Congress and as a result, the American people. And they are able to do that right now in a rather unencumbered way because they have the House, the Senate, and the White House. So they really don't need to negotiate or work with any of us right now. And so they are taking advantage of it, and both through executive orders from the White House as well as legislation that they're passing without any input from Republicans to speak of at all. So, I'm a little concerned that if they continue pushing down that path, it's going to be problematic. And I certainly hope that they will change some of that. But You have 75 million people who voted for President Trump, and they want America First type policies. They want to maintain just liberties and so forth. And unfortunately, a lot of that is unraveling right now, and I hope it does not become a problem in our country.
Well, Congressman, I cannot thank you enough for taking this time to be with us. I know you're very busy. All the lawmakers up there are super busy right now. And as always, we're grateful to you. Thank you so much, sir, and be safe and healthy.
My pleasure, Brad. Same to you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Congressman Jody Hice of Georgia's 10th District.